My selfish sister decided to hide my mother's death so she can ransack and steal her estate, so I pressed charges and got my fat check. My mom got pregnant with me at 40. She had her tubes tied after my sister was born, but somehow I still managed to get made. She had bad PPD after I was born and didn't hold me for close to a year. She was a feminist and staunchly against the nuclear family dynamic, but society forced her into it, so neither I, nor my sister, were really wanted. Subsequently, my older sister was parentified hard when I was born and basically acted as my mother until my actual mom crawled out from depression. Things never got better, and I was neglected and abused in every way until I started showing talent in music and art. Then my mother couldn't stop fawning over me publicly. It was disgusting. Cut to 3 years ago. I had been no contact with my mother for 7 glorious years after my father passed from lung cancer. The final straw? He was on an oxygen tank. It was June, and the woman refused to step outside to smoke her cigarettes. Her excuse? He was dying anyway. He heard everything and died 3 days later. After I cut ties with my mom, I basically lost the rest of my family too because they were so intimidated by her authority. It was definitely a matriarchal dynamic. My sister and I still spoke, and I had a great relationship with her 3 kids and husband. The relationship between my sister and I was always rocky. She was my first bully, but also my first protector. She stuck up for me at home, but let her friends abuse me. My feelings towards her were so very complicated, but we both hated our mom, so there was always that. However, a couple years before mom passed, I got into a nasty rollover accident that made the local news. When my sister shared the news article on Facebook making fun of me instead of coming to the hospital, or even calling, I knew then that she was just like our mom. I was in the process of buying her house too, so when my husband and I pulled out of that due to her behavior, she flipped out. So we hadn't been speaking for a while when all this went down. Then mom passes unexpectedly from COVID. My sister and her new boyfriend found her body. Sister has never been very intelligent, so she had no clue about the legalities of dealing with death, wills, or estate law. She decides to hide my mom's death for a few days while she ransacks and steals everything of value in the house, her car, bank account, everything. She threw away all my baby pictures. I found out all of this information weeks later by piecing it together during the aftermath. She got the rest of my family in on it too by promising them part of the estate. Turns out the house was paid off and worth quite a bit of money. I didn't know, and they knew that. They managed to hide her death from me for 4 days. The one cool cousin I talked to that lives across the country had to tell me. My best friend knew and didn't say anything either because my sister promised her money too. I was not given the address of the funeral to attend, I was not allowed to grieve formally, and I was harassed at every turn by family I hadn't seen or spoken to in years, all for the sake of some very literal chump change. But, like I mentioned earlier, my sister is not bright and doesn't understand that you have to file to become an executor of an estate before you can legally do anything with the property or its contents. Because my mother didn't leave a will, everything was up in the air and half of it was legally mine. I got a great lawyer, filed and negotiated everything through him, chose not to press charges on my sister, blocked every tiny petty thing she threw at me, Gray rocked the F out of my entire family and got a fat check without having to lift a finger.